The sound of creaking floorboards echoed like a whisper of the past. 18-year-old Noah stood at the top of the attic stairs, his hand hovering just above the doorknob. The old wooden door groaned as he pushed it open, releasing a rush of stale air mixed with mothballs and forgotten years. A beam of sunlight from the small attic window cut across the room, highlighting the layers of dust blanketing every surface. Noah hadn't meant to come up here. He was just looking for an old suitcase. He was leaving for college in a week, and his adoptive mom, Sarah, had told him to find anything he might need for the dorms. But instead, curiosity brought him here, to the one part of the house that always felt off-limits. Stacks of old boxes towered like silent sentinels. Christmas decorations, his dad's forgotten golf clubs, and baby toys from a childhood he didn't remember. He picked up a faded teddy bear with one button eye, wondering for a moment if it had once been his. That's when he saw it. Tucked in the farthest corner, partially hidden beneath a moth-eaten quilt, was a box unlike any other. It was smaller than the others, square, wrapped in worn leather, and sealed with a heavy brass lock. Strange symbols were etched into the surface, faded but still visible, almost like a language, almost like a warning. Noah's breath caught. He reached for it slowly, as if the box might vanish if he moved too quickly. It was heavier than it looked, dense, like it carried more than just weight. He wiped the dust away and ran his fingers over the strange carvings. One symbol, circular, with jagged lines crossing through it, seemed eerily familiar, though he couldn't say why. He carried the box downstairs to his room and sat on the edge of his bed, staring at it for several minutes. A chill ran down his spine. Something about it felt personal, intimate, like it was meant for him, and only him. Noah had always known he was adopted. Sarah and Greg never kept that from him. They told him they found him as a baby, wrapped in a soft blue blanket, left on the steps of a church in the middle of a snowstorm. There were no records, no name, just a hospital tag around his wrist with the initials NLC. He never thought much about it, or at least he tried not to. But now, staring at this box, he felt something, a shift, like a piece of a puzzle finally snapping into place. He grabbed a screwdriver from his desk drawer and began prying at the lock. It groaned, resisted, then finally gave way with a loud snap. The box creaked open. Inside, layered with delicate black velvet, were several objects. A faded photograph of a young woman, smiling, her eyes filled with both joy and pain. Her hair was dark and curly, her cheekbones sharp. She couldn't have been more than 25. A tiny silver bracelet, engraved with the same initials on his old hospital tag, NLC. A folded, yellowed newspaper clipping with a headline. Woman vanishes after giving birth in isolated cabin, newborn missing. And the cassette tape, unlabeled, slightly warped from time. Noah's hands trembled. He stared at the tape, then at the photograph again. That woman. She had his eyes. He didn't have a cassette player. Nobody did anymore. But his friend Alex was a collector of vintage tech, vinyl records, film cameras, even VHS tapes. If anyone had a tape player, it would be him. Noah stuffed everything into his backpack and jumped on his bike. It was nearly 9 p.m., but he didn't care. He pedaled hard through the dark streets toward Alex's house on the far side of town. His heart pounded not just from the ride, but from the feeling growing in his gut. He wasn't ready for what he was about to hear. "Dude, this better be good," Alex muttered as he dug through his shelves. "I've got like 4 tape players and 3 of them are just for show." Noah didn't answer. He just sat on the edge of Alex's bed, clutching the tape with both hands. Finally, Alex found one. A dusty, boxy device with cracked knobs and a frayed cord. He popped the tape in, pressed play, and waited as the wheels began to turn. It was a loud hiss, then static, then a voice. Soft, female, trembling. "Noah, if you found this, it means they've kept the truth from you. And it means I've failed." Noah's breath caught in his throat. "I'm your mother," the voice continued. "My name is Anna Lee Carter. I don't know how much time I have. They're watching me. They're watching you. If they know you found this, you have to run." Noah stared at the speaker as if it had grown a mouth of its own. Alex turned to him, wide-eyed, but said nothing. The voice kept going. "You were never supposed to be part of this. You were supposed to be free. But I was wrong. They never stopped. They're still out there. And you, my love, you're the key. The tape hissed again. Then silence. Alex slowly reached forward and pressed stop. Noah sat frozen. She knew my name, he whispered. She said, she's my mother. Alex was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded toward the photo. She looks like you. Noah reached into his bag and pulled out the newspaper clipping. He unfolded it, flattening it on Alex's desk. The headlines stared up at them like a ghost. The article told the story of a young woman named Anna Lee Carter, missing shortly after giving birth in a private cabin near Woodside Lake. Her body was never found. The baby was presumed dead. Except Noah was alive, and somehow he had ended up in a church, wrapped in a blanket with her initials. I think, Noah said slowly, I was the baby. Alex stared at him. Then who raised you? Noah shook his head. Sarah and Greg, they adopted me. But they never knew where I came from. They just said the hospital didn't have any info. That I was abandoned. Alex looked at the tape player, then back at him. This is some next-level mystery crap, dude. But Noah wasn't listening anymore. He was staring at the photograph. At the woman who said she was his mother. At the journal tucked just beneath the tape. He hadn't noticed it before. And at the last line scrawled in ink on its back cover. When he turns 18, they will come. The words echoed in Noah's head as he biked home under the inky sky. When he turns 18, they will come. Street lamps flickered like they were struggling to stay awake. Every rustle in the bushes made Noah jerk his head around. For the first time in his life, the world felt different. Like it wasn't just made of people and places, but of secrets and watchers and something far, far older than him. He arrived home and crept up to his room, careful not to wake Sarah and Greg. He locked the door behind him and sat on his bed, laying out the contents of the box one by one. The photo, the bracelet, the newspaper clipping, the journal. The journal. It was small, covered in cracked leather, and smelled faintly of smoke and lavender. The pages were yellowed, handwritten and hurried, looping script. His mother's handwriting. He flipped through it, scanning pages filled with charts, names, coordinates, and frantic thoughts. She'd been hiding, running, trying to expose something. There were notes about a project called Artemis, about experiments, children, genetics, a place called the Hollow Nest. Noah stopped on one page where the ink was darker, fresher, as if it had been written shortly before the journal was hidden. It read, if anyone finds this, protect him. He is not like the others. They gave him no choice. He carries something they never meant to release, something they couldn't control. I named him Noah because it meant rest, peace, but they will see him as something else. A mistake, a weapon, a cure, maybe all three. Noah's hands trembled. Had his mother been part of an experiment? Was he a lab child? He couldn't wrap his mind around it. The woman in the photo looked warm, kind. But the journal read like the pages of a woman hunted, breaking down, watching every shadow. He stared at his reflection in the mirror across the room. What if he wasn't normal? What if he never had been? The next morning, the world tried to go on like nothing had changed. Sarah was cooking pancakes, humming to herself. Greg was reading the paper at the table like always. But when Noah walked into the kitchen, carrying the box and the journal, everything stopped. Greg lowered the paper. Sarah turned slowly, spatula frozen in midair. I found this, Noah said softly. In the attic. They said nothing. You knew, he said. Didn't you? Sarah slowly walked to the table and sat down. She didn't cry, but her voice was raw. We were going to tell you. Someday. When? Noah asked, his voice shaking. When it was too late? Greg leaned forward, his fingers clenched around the coffee mug. We didn't know what any of it meant, Noah. We just knew you were left at that church with no records, no name, no family looking for you. That box came later. Someone dropped it off in the middle of the night, rang the doorbell, and ran. Noah's heart dropped. What? We didn't even know it was for you, Sarah added. There was no name on it, just those initials,